My name is Bart Kohler. I'm a certified payments professional with the Electronic Transaction Association. Today, you will learn how to identify the new forms of payment. We will talk about the liability shift looming for October 2015 for most businesses. I will show you an industry-by-industry breakdown where fraud occurs most, and I can direct you to a free EMV implementation guide. Some housekeeping issues. The things that we're going to talk about today are projections. We're talking about the number of credit cards that will be issued in the hands of consumers by the end of 2015 and things like that. So it is a forward-looking statement. All right, let's take a look at the new cards. The new cards that are being issued, for all intents and purposes, look just like the cards that we have in our wallets now. It has the bank name or the issuing institution's name. It will have the card association logos on them and some of the holograms and other security features that are built into the cards. But they'll also have the PAN number that is raised, the raised numbers that are on the card that we used to use to imprint the cards, if anyone remembers the old-fashioned days. About 30 years ago, we went electronic because so many cards were issued, and we actually laid down a magnetic strip on the back of the card. And that's the technology that we've been using up to today. And that technology is very old. The EMV technology is actually the EuroPay MasterCard Visa chip, which has been around since the mid-90s. It's owned by 6 entities. Each entity has 1/6 share in the EMV chip. It is Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, the Japanese Credit Bank, and UnionPay, which is the Chinese. The way the cards work is they issue a one-time use code, a random dynamic number, each time the card is used. And that makes it really impossible or useless to a fraudster to collect the data like the number or the expiration date. Let's take a look at a typical sales scenario. Today, when we slide a card, the terminal captures the information on the back of the magnetic strip. It gets the card number, the customer's name, the expiration date, the service code, and the CVV number that's embedded into the magnetic strip. With the chip transactions, when you dip or port the card into an EMV-capable device or terminal, what's going to happen is all the information that's usually passed through is going to pass through. But on the right, you'll see an orange set of numbers, and that's a cryptogram, a one-time use dynamic code that, as you can see on the bottom example, when the card is taken somewhere else and used to purchase tickets, in the bottom example, the cryptogram is different. All the other information remains the same, but the cryptogram is generated and different. And that shiny piece of metal that you see on the front of the card, that's actually a piece of metal. It's not the chip itself. It's either silver or gold. And when that's put into the EMV terminal, the terminal and the card use induction. And it basically borrows electricity from the terminal to turn the card on, turn the chip on, so that the chip can generate this random piece of information. Now, how did we get here? Well, for years, we have been making some changes in the background at your processing companies and your acquiring banks. Because we have such a large banking system in the United States, we're one of the last countries to really get on this system. Some people say, well, why is that? Well, because we have so many banks and our system is ubiquitous. It all kind of seems together seamlessly. It fits together seamlessly. But there's so many different entities and associations that make up this currency, this electronic currency. So what's happening in October 2015 is there's going to be a liability shift. Currently, if my card information is stolen and it's used somewhere, I call my bank and I tell my bank I've never been to that restaurant or store, and they put the money back in my account, and it all stops right there. That's a case where the issuer takes the liability. Excuse me. Let's take a look at the situation as it will occur coming in October. Basically, as I just stated, if someone steals my credit card information, counterfeits my card, and uses it, I call my bank puts the money back in my account. End of story. The bank loses the money. The banks in the United States are losing about $5.5 billion a year. And the highest category of fraud is counterfeit cards. Now, there's probably people listening to this, restaurant owners and business owners saying, I don't see counterfeit cards. Well, it is true. They are out there. You may not be recognizing them. In many cases, if somebody hands someone a card at a restaurant, they run the card. If it obtains an authorization, the server is going to bring back the receipt. I'm going to sign my receipt. The fraudster is going to sign the receipt fraudulently, and it's going to happen. It happens all the time, to the tune of billions of dollars a year. So what's going to happen in October is, if the bank has issued an EMV card, but my information has been stolen and a counterfeit card has been reproduced, and that card has been used somewhere at a magstripe only terminal, the acquirer or the processing company that processed that transaction is going to be liable for the loss. And I'm sure you understand that the processing companies are going to come after the merchant and may just attach a penalty to it. So it's very important, no matter what you do, is to read the statements that you're getting from your merchant company, because the rules are going to change as they get hit with these liabilities. They're going to have to institute programs and policies to cover for these losses. Most importantly, it would be a good time to formulate a plan and get with somebody that you can trust to help guide you through some of these things. Let's take a look at the readiness of the United States. The credit card companies have begun to issue the cards. If you're listening, you probably have a couple cards in your wallet that have chips in them. The two largest debit card issuers in the United States have begun to issue their cards. And the projections for the end of the year are this, the egg in the middle. In the hands of consumers, their cards, 70% of their credit cards are going to be chipped. 41% of the debit cards in the hands of consumers are going to be chipped, but only 47% of the terminals in the market are going to be ready to read those cards. What that means is the migration of the fraud is going to migrate to those weakest points. Let's take a look at the most vulnerable places. The most vulnerable places, or the places at greatest risk of fraud or compromise, are going to be places that don't often see or get a real good inspection of the card. A grocery store, a liquor store, a quick serve restaurant, a hotel. Of course, we talked about automatic fuel dispensaries and ATMs. They're exempt from this liability shift until October 2017. But all of the other merchants, if you're not an ATM, if you're not an automatic fuel dispensary, come October 1st, you want to make sure that you have things in place so that you can read these technologies. Okay? That's really the most important part of the conversation. I'll put it in one sentence. The party responsible for the transaction not being an EMV chip transaction in the case of counterfeit fraud will be liable to pay the loss. I'll repeat, the party responsible for the transaction not being an EMV chip transaction in the case of counterfeit fraud will be liable to pay the loss come October 1st, 2015. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this. I promise my webinars will be short and very informative. Please take down my email address and contact me with any questions that you have. I'll be sure to research them thoroughly and get you the proper information. Anyone who would like an EMV implementation guide, it's totally free. It comes from Visa. Please send me an email and I'll make sure that you get directions to that link. Thank you very much and have a great day.